LSU versus Clemson, from Garrett Nussmeier to Cade Klubnik. We break down the future pros set to shine in this heavyweight matchup only on Locked On NFL Draft.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parsons. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He's the director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with those LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout for being our everydayers. Guys, we got a fun one. Clemson versus LSU, the battle to figure out who's the real Tigers in college football, but also what's the real Death Valley. We're going to talk about that game. We're going to talk about from a prospect standpoint, getting to the offensive prospects to watch, the defensive prospects to watch, and the prospects that have the most to gain and the most on the line in this game. But before that, today's episode is sponsored by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Offensive prospects to watch. Keith, most people probably think, oh, DP is going to Clemson. No, I'm actually going to LSU on this to start this show out, Keith. And I'm going to that wide receiver, Aaron Anderson. And like, I haven't looked at the measurements. I think he's like 5'8". The guy I'm going to compare him to is probably 2 inches taller, but still, yet you guys get the picture. He reminds me a lot of Josh Downs, Keith. Route running, separation, short area quickness, athleticism, a guy that can literally win one-on-one. And he's one of those receivers you go to training camp, and it's like, man, this guy's been giving DBs hell all week. And it's like, yeah, it's Aaron Anderson. Like, he's that type of guy in one-on-one situations where you don't have that safety over the top. You don't have that linebacker sitting inside. It's you and him one-on-one. He's that type of route runner to me. And I think at 5'8", 180 pounds or whatever he's listed as, the speed, the explosiveness I see from him out of his breaks, I think this is a guy that's going to have a big-time opportunity in this game, and especially because the fact that we've talked about leading up. We've mentioned this game a lot this summer, but all the losses on the offensive line, right? Emory Jones, Will Campbell, and you're going up against a defensive front that we'll talk about in the next topic that could absolutely wreck this game. The key to me for LSU is getting the ball out of Garrett Nussmeier's hands early and quickly in the passing game. And Aaron Anderson is the guy I think they need to he doesn't have to be the full passing offense, but get him involved early rather than trying to push it down the field. We know Garrett he's a gunslinger. He wants to chuck it. Get it to Aaron Anderson early, set the tone, let the defense know, hey, you're not going to just pin your ears back and get to me.
Yeah. So no, I like the call out with Josh Downs. Another guy I also think about. I think he's listed at 5'8" too. Jamison Crowder, right? Another slot utility guy that can do a bunch of different things. Can play wide receiver, right? Made some timely catches in his career. That's another name that pops up for me. I agree with you on the Aaron Anderson situation. Is also the jet sweeps, right? Is he going to be a screen guy, a tunnel screen guy? Like, just how are they going to get manufactured touches, right? Or are they going to put him in situations to do kick return, punt return?
Yeah.
An explosive, shifty guy like that, you want to give him the opportunity to get his hands on the football as many times as possible. DP, I'm going to go with one of our guys that, we probably put a little stock in, right? And we hoping that this thing cash out, and that's wide receiver Nic Anderson for the LSU Tigers.
Yeah.
He will be maybe the biggest wide receiver. Well, no, Clemson has pretty big wide receivers. But I would say the biggest wide receiver on the field.
He might be. No, I think he might be the biggest. I think he's like 6'4", like 215.
Yeah. 6'4",
so he's probably the biggest one.
So this is a big body guy, and we bought into him at Oklahoma going into last year. Then obviously he had some injuries and stuff, but being a big possession guy, but this guy has route running skills. He's a fluid mover. He can set it off, DP. If this guy comes out of this game with 100 yards, you're talking about people raving about wide receiver Nic Anderson. So he's a prospect that I'm looking for, because can he instantly catapult himself into a top 50-esque type prospect?
Yeah, I think the tools to, I was high on them last summer coming out of coming out of summer scouting before he got hurt and everything. I think it was like a hamstring or something,
Yeah,
quad or
hamstring, I
something,
believe. Yep.
and everything that basically took him out for the whole season and everything. And I was high. I've viewed him as a potential first round pick from a tool standpoint. Now it's just all about, we haven't seen him like really at full health, feels like in a very long time.
Yep.
So like get a chance for him to step forward and make some plays in this offense. Keith, I'm gonna go to a guy that actually played receiver and now is playing running back. And that's Clemson from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Adam Randall, 6'2", 235 pound.
I didn't know you moved the running back. Okay.
This offseason, he made the move to running back. And I'm going to be honest, Keith, I don't think that's a bad move for him. This was a guy that did not, it just didn't click at wide receiver for him, right? With the consistency with, I would say, from his hands and dealing with DBs and things like that. He returned kicks and he don't return kicks very well as a big body receiver, but you see the physicality he runs with, the open field speed that he does have once he built that up and hit his top end speed. I think at running back, because that was kind of one of the question marks for them. Like you lose Phil Maffa. I think one of their guys might have transferred out too. One of their young guys, if I remember correctly. So like it was all right, who's going to be like, do you want to put the rock in the hands of a true freshman, a true sophomore who didn't really play a lot last year to start the season, or do you want to go with somebody who is used to playing? And I think with Adam Randall, this is a big opportunity for this young man, Keith, for him to not just because it's a risky move. This is your senior year, and you're switching positions, going from receiver to running back. That is a risky move. But Keith, we've seen Brashard Smith go from receiver from SMU, from receiver to running back. Tyrone Tracy from Purdue go from receiver to running back and everything. And it's worked out well for Tyrone Tracy, right? You know what I mean? So I look at Adam Randall, 6'2", 235. This is a big opportunity for him. And I expect Clemson to run again. They call it it's an air raid offense. They call it the dirt raid because they want to run the ball. And I think when you have a guy that with his size and strength and physicality, I think it fits him very well. He always looked more natural just with the ball in his hands. He just didn't look natural as a receiver. But then with that receiver ability, it's like, okay, well, would you be better facing linebackers than corners?
Right.
I would probably say, yeah. Like, it'll probably be a better situation for him. And then I'll throw one more real quick, Keith, before you respond. Blake Miller, the right tackle. He went back to school. This offensive line, for people that don't know, 4 out of their 5 starters are graduates. Their left tackle, their center, their right guard, their right tackle, all graduates. The only guy that's not a graduate is their left guard. He's a redshirt junior. Blake Miller, this is your last hurrah. This is the last chance you have to impress scouts and GMs. He's athletically gifted. He's got the arm length, the height. Well, he's going to check the physical boxes. Now can you play with technique and consistency to warrant being, like you talked about with Nic Anderson, being a top 50, top 70, even a top 100 pick in everything. He's got some room to make up. I've talked to some people, and what I've heard is it's kind of third round at best right now for him. You know what I mean? So he's got some room to make up and to climb up the rankings. He's got to do that in this game, especially with some of the guys we're going to talk about for that LSU defense. He's going to deal with some dudes who got speed. Can you be technically sound to run these guys around the arc, keep Cade Klubnik clean so he can start playing at a high level and play at a high level early in this game?
Yep, with DP, let's do this, man. Let's flip sides of the football. Let's talk about the defensive prospects to watch. And trust me, there's a ton of them, a ton of high-profile guys, a lot of guys we may see go in the first round. Let's talk about the defensive prospects from this LSU-Clemson matchup coming up next.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. The preseason is over and the regular season is right around the corner, while college football week 1 is this week. Whether you've got your eye on a big name quarterback or breakout running backs, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in the game. The flex play option is a total game changer. Even when one of your picks misses, you still doubled your money. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Locked On NFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. When you go to the defensive side of the ball, Keith, it's so much talent on both of these teams on defense. LSU's defense, to me, looking at them on paper, a lot of the moves they made through whether it's recruiting, through transfer portal, they look to reshape this defense and let it be a strength and not a weakness for them. And Keith, I'm pretty sure I figured you might talk about at least one or two of these guys. But I look at the linebackers, man, Weeks and Harold Perkins Jr. And I think when I look at Weeks, it's going to be, to me, I think he's the guy that I probably have as that pseudo spy to Cade Klubnik. You know what I mean? I that's how I look at it. It's probably how I would utilize him. And I think for both of these guys, the big thing is, okay, if we just talked about Adam Randall, who's 6'2", 235 pounds, now playing running back, and that offensive line playing physical, getting upfield, these linebackers are going to have to deal with that physicality. You're going to have to attack the line of scrimmage. You're going to have to shed these blocks. You're going to have to play aggressive and physical downhill. And of course, with Perkins, it's what do you do on first and second down? Does your play on first and second down put you in position to then walk down on the edge on third down and get after Cade? And I just closed up the first topic against Blake Miller. I think Harold Perkins, if he gets those third down matchups, I'm taking Perkins in that situation to win those matchups 9 times out of 10 because he's a proven pass rusher with proven pass rush ability. But you got to earn that right to rush the passer, and you got to stop the run early in this game.
Yeah, I like that call out, DP, and I like that you paired Harold Perkins and Blake Miller together. And I'm going to steal the phrase that you used for Blake Miller. And it's like, this is almost the last hoorah for Harold Perkins also, right? And because he was such an explosive freshman, and then last year he got injured, and then obviously it was the movement, trying to figure out where to put him. And then, now he's back, right? And he's back trying to stake a claim that was that last offseason or 2 off seasons ago, to where people were talking about this is a top 10 pick. Yeah, and then he went from that to now people saying fringe top 100, right? As a draft prospect. You're trying to get yourself back into that situation. And so I think him having a clear defined role within not just LSU's defense, but just a defense period, right? And because we know where this potentially can go with people making comparisons of other prospects, like even a potentially like Isaiah Simmons, right? And just like not having a clear role. So I think Harold Perkins should have a good game overall, but I think he's definitely a guy to highlight. With Weeks, you bringing him up, DP, I can see this from being down here in this area. People are excited about him just from the perspective of also that they feel like they finally have a good linebacker, right? Like that, they feel like that position has been lacking for quite a few years, since the days of Patrick Queen and Devin White and things like that. So they're really excited about what he can be. Last year he showed them, was I guess the potential, and then now is like really letting that kind of flush out. I'm gonna look at a couple guys. DP, you talked about the transfer report. I'm gonna look at Mansur Delane as a guy that they brought over, and I'm interested to see. And I talked to a few of my people, and it's like, he's a very talented and versatile player. So I just want to see where he could play in this LSU defense. Where is he going to fit? Is he going to play some true corner? Can he play some free safety? Can he play some nickel? Because we know that they also brought over the freshman too, that they signed from recruiting. So it'd be interesting to see where he fits on the field. And then the last guy, I have to make sure I get this right because I know Florida State had 2 transfers. Marvin Jones Jr. went to Oklahoma. And then Patrick Payton went to LSU. Patrick Payton is a guy that's been a high-profile guy since high school, right? And obviously the Florida State situation, I think, was kind of up and down. But LSU needs some edge rushers. They need guys to go get after it. They had Braden Swinson, was that last year, right? I think he got drafted to the New England Patriots. But now it's Patrick Payton's turn to be the guy. And I want to see what he's able to do. Is he going to be able to turn that corner? You talked about matchups with Blake Miller, Tristan Lee. He has to be able to beat those guys. And then you want to you want to outshine them, right? You want
Yeah.
people to leave this and say, you know what? Patrick Payton is a top 50 guy. Blake Miller, Tristan Lee, they're probably third, fourth round, fifth round type of players because you won that matchup. So I look at him also as a potential guy.
Yeah, that's what, that defensive line, we're talking about with the linebackers. The defensive line is going to have to set hard edges, play physical at the point of attack, and that's going to be a big thing for Patrick Payton, a guy that just seems like the forgotten man in this draft class at the edge rush position. For most people, I don't know if most people even know that he transferred from Florida State. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think most people even realize that he's no longer in Florida State and he's at LSU. But Keith, I think, of course, when you talk about the defense side of the ball, you got to go to the man that could absolutely wreck this entire game, and that is Peter Woods. That's Peter Woods, and with the new defensive coordinator, and I want to just let him loose, man. Like, this guy has power, strength, quickness, hand usage, splits double teams. Like, again, he's I think he's both our number one player on our top 10 prospects. Check the archives. It's probably about 2 weeks ago, a week or two ago, that we dropped our top 10 prospects list. So go check that out, guys. But yeah, like he's the number one guy for both of us. And I think in this game, when you look at this, and I'm looking at the defense or how it sets up, like the defensive line for Clemson. This defense can absolutely destroy this game. This defensive line can really make things very difficult, from TJ Parker to Peter Woods, DeMonte Capehart coming back and having that opportunity.
That's a piece, DP. I'm glad you mentioned DeMonte, because he's a guy that nobody mentions, right?
Yes.
But he can wreck shop. And do they have the prospects to wear this LSU offensive line down and make them one-dimensional where they can't run the football? You can't run the football, and then now you're one-dimensional, and then now you're playing right into TJ Parker's hands, because now you're letting him just kind of tee off on 3rd and 5s, 3rd and 8s, and it becomes obvious passing downs.
No, 100%. DeMonte Capehart, 6'5", 315 pounds, and like we've seen when we watch the tape over the past couple of seasons, he's got that overwhelming strength, that brute strength and build and arm length, to where he can, like, was it Syracuse, where he just folded a guard up like an accordion, and I'm just like, bro, like, but that was one of the highlights of the season for him. And I know you've mentioned this young man before on the show, Will Helt at the edge spot, the 6'6", 260 junior. Like that ability to it almost reminds. This is kind of what I want to see from the defensive coordinator standpoint. Give me some of that Philadelphia Eagles Pat Mahomes treatment. Just rush your 4. Don't even blitz. Drop Wade Woodads and Sammy Brown, the 5-star sophomore linebacker. Drop those guys in the coverage and rush your 4 and trust them to get home. You have Avion Terrell, another defensive prospect to definitely watch. He's a junior, so he doesn't have to come out this year. Khalil Barnes, he plays safety for him, plays safety and nickel. He's a talented kid too. So they got a lot of talent defensively. To watch in this game overall, from both teams. And I think for me, Keith, this game is going to be won and lost in the trenches. Whoever dominates the line of scrimmage, that's who's going to win this game on both sides of the ball, offensive and defensive lines, Keith. I think that's going to be the big thing. Like, looking at how because LSU has some young guys on their defensive line that are super talented. They're just kind of younger. Like, so now, big spotlight for you guys to kind of set yourselves up for future drafts. Like, listen, I dominated one of the best teams in college football right at the gate. We didn't get a warm-up game. This is our opening game. We didn't book a cupcake. We took a team that everybody has as 1 or 2 in the nation.
Yep. Well, DP, let's do this, man. Let's switch over, and we're doing prospects with the most to gain. Who can walk out of here with an elevated draft stock that we may be talking about Monday morning, right? Let's get into that prospects with the most to gain coming up next.
Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougit Ready. Rougit Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougit's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets to use across the app. Again, guys, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets to use across the app. Why not take advantage of a deal like that? And when you think about being with FanDuel, it makes the games even more exciting because you can jump into the action. You can just keep your eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play is the question. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. Again, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. We have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to LockedOnPodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's LockedOnPodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot, for being our everydayers. Prospects with the most to gain. Keith, who in this game, if they ball out, we talk about Monday morning, like, man, you just did your draft stock a big service.
Yeah, I go with Clemson cornerback Avion Terrell. He has the most direct, I think, potential impact on this game. You're going against a high-powered offense with, we mentioned Nic Anderson and Aaron Anderson, but you have a lot of potential, and people are excited about seeing Chris Hilton. You have Barian Brown, who people say he's a sub 4-3 guy. You have so many wide receivers, right, on this LSU offense that go get you somebody, go lock them down, right? And you walk out of here with a big time turnover or two. The cornerback, and I don't know if you feel the same way, DP, but just like we talked about the running back, when was that? That was yesterday's episode, I think.
Yeah, I think
when we talked about just the running back, that was at the back of the episode. We're talking about Le'Veon Moss, and we was just talking about how I think the running back class is still kind of wide open, right? I feel the same way about the cornerback class. That we don't, you ask a couple different people and you're going to get a couple different answers as far as who is CB1. Avion Terrell could throw his name in that hat, right? And right now he's a little bit overlooked, but I like just looking at his movement skills, his quick twitch, his fluid ability, some ball skills, their ability to play man. He gets in this game, DP, and he has a lockdown performance. I think he can walk away with this, with saying like, hey, this guy may be the best corner in the nation. And this is the type of matchup you want if you're a corner, because guess what? LSU is going to throw the football.
Absolutely. 100%. They're going to throw the football. And I think that and with the different body types and everything else that he can match up with, yeah, this is a stamp yourself game. This is a stamp yourself game for teams. And maybe if Aaron Anderson is getting off, right, and he's giving Khalil Barnes, who's your nickel/safety, some issues, maybe you go to coach, say, coach, let me walk down into the slot.
Yep.
Let me go into the nickel, pull somebody else to play outside. You know what I mean? And let's run it that way. And then if you start slowing them down, you showcase, because again, the size, his size is going to create a discussion. You know what I mean? For a lot of people, because he's not going to be a 6 foot, I'm about to pull up his measurements right now.
I think it's
He
right
is
at
listed,
5'11", maybe
yeah,
5'11", 180.
5'11", 180. So, like, most people can be like, are you truly an outside corner for some people, right? Because you don't have the 195, 6 foot, build
Yeah.
and everything. You're a little wiry. So it's like, okay, can you handle being an outside corner? Well, if you do have to work into the slot and play that nickel, all right, you already checked that off the box for people. Like, okay, I know he could play nickel, especially against one of the best slot receivers in college football. So I like that call out for Avion Terrell. Keith, I'm going with kind of an obvious situation, and to me, it's Cade Klubnik. Like, you know what I mean? You talk about the most to gain, brother. Like, scouts love what you. The scouts love you right now. They a lot of scouts and a lot of draft analysts, in our field have him as, for the people who don't count Arch, they have him as QB1. Excuse me. So they have him as QB1, and if you are QB1, this is a game. You're at home, right? Like, you're at home, nighttime. I will be in attendance for this game, guys. I will actually be there at this game, covering this game as well. So in person, live. So I'll be very much tapped into how Cade is. I want to see, are we going to see ebbs and flows in this game? And if we do, that's kind of normal, right? The momentum shifts throughout four quarters. This is like basketball. Like, you go on runs. Like, so the momentum's going to shift. All right, Cade, if you have a momentum shift and LSU starting to pick up steam, can you then come out after they just scored 14 unanswered? Can you come out, calm your offense down, calm yourself down, make a drive? Let's get some points back on the board and get the momentum back in our favor. That's going to be a big thing for me when it comes on the Cade.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, DP. This may be a situation where the first quarter tells it all. Because when we talked about so much of the mental with Cade, we're going to be able to know if he's going to have nerves or not. And that's what it comes down to. Like we always say, man, the physical traits are there with Cade. It's just what version of you going to get Cade. And if you get a bad Cade early, can he stop kind of like the hemorrhaging, right?
Stop the bleeding.
Stop the bleeding and turn around and be a good Cade. So I think the first quarter would tell it all for Cade, but I like that call out. DP, I'm going to say this. Garrett Nussmeier should be an interesting situation because I've documented, how I think last year had some ebbs and some flows, right? Like they had some high points and some low points against a very talented defense. I think when you talk about the trenches, this may be the best defense that they faced since just in the trenches since maybe Texas A&M. Right when Texas A&M had the Shamar Stewart and Nick Scourton, and they got Albert Regis, I think is coming up this year, and I believe I'm missing another edge rusher. But I look at them, and then I look at Clemson, right? And we talked about it, the TJ Parkers, the Peter Woods, the just the different prospects they have. How is he going to handle pressure, right? Is he going to make great decisions with the football? He's going to make bad decisions. Then also being on the road, right? And then people, I'm not 100% sure what happened, but just, the mentions of his injury and stuff like that, right? Like there's a lot of pressure on us to have to start off hot and then carry one, because he's going to be looked at as a guy that has to carry this football team. Then you're talking about you in Heisman contention to be a Heisman favorite. Last year, DP, people knew who Garrett Nussmeier was. They were familiar with the name, but nobody projected him to pick up where Jaden left off in a sense and be like, you know what, this guy's going to go for 30 to 40 touchdowns and have one of the most high-powered offenses. Now you walk into the season with that pressure to you can be QB1, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people think you are the best quarterback in the nation. So I'm interested to see how Nussmeier plays. And I think he has a lot to gain because this is a big this could be a big win, big resume game for him going into Clemson.
Oh, 100%. I think, these quarterbacks, they can kind of, in a sense, cancel the other one out. Like, you know what I mean? Like your performance, like personally, I want to shoot out. I'm not gonna lie. Like I want a 35-38 game. I want to see both of these quarterbacks going off and having a good time. And then, okay, one of the defensive prospects makes the big stop late in the game and like showcase why who they are. But I want to see these quarterbacks, both quarterbacks play well. But for Garrett, it's like, all right, well, from a tool standpoint, like athleticism, all like full package, people are going to look at Cade and Lenore Sellers and Arch. It's like there's going to be other guys that's going to be more physically gifted than you. Even though you have good tools, Now it's all about, you know what? Let's put it out on film. I went up against your defense. I balled out 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, no pick. That's going to be the thing for me with Nuss is don't turn the ball over.
Yeah,
you turn
that's
the
what I'm saying.
ball
Like,
over in
and it was that
this
stretch.
building.
Like we said, Texas A&M, Florida, Bama. There was a stretch where it was like, oh man, it just didn't look great, right?
Yeah, no, he's got to protect the ball because that crowd again. Living here, I can tell you guys, they are going to be drinking from probably 12 to kickoff. Like they are going to be lit. They're going to be extremely hype. It's going to be loud. And again, it's the night game. What like they didn't do this a couple years ago when they gave them Florida State. They made that
that was
a
was
noon game.
Was that an early game? I want to say that was like
noon,
11, 12 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah. Like it was one of the top games in the early slot, and it was like, nah, make that a night game with Florida State coming into Clemson, and really like because that's where like the mystique and it starts messing with your mind. You get the light show, and when they score, the lights are flicked. Like it's just a lot of stuff is going on. And it's like, all right, how do you like if Garrett throws a pick and that crowd is like, you know, they're going to say a lot of things as well. You're going to have to hear that. How do you bounce back? Like, do you go back and say, you know what? Cool. I threw that pick. I got the mind of a squirrel. I'm cool. I'm gonna throw a touchdown in the next drive. And you get to talk your talk, right? Like you get to jaw back with the fans and things like that. Or do you compound it with another mistake? So the mental aspect for both of these quarterbacks is going to be key. Because again, like you're right now, you're the ones that people are viewing fighting for QB1. Where Arch Manning is just like, even though he made the comment, most people are like, Arch ain't coming out. Arch isn't. I'm like, Arch goes out here and balls out this year. He might. So this quarterback class could look very different if he does. But I look at both of these quarterbacks, man. They have a lot riding on this game, and they got a lot that they can gain just by playing. Even I'm gonna be honest, Keith. Even if they both play well, but one of their defense gets a stop or whatever, you both came out positive, right? So like, you just can't tank it. Don't go in the tank. Like that's the main thing.
100%. With DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parsons. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you get podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, guys, we are bringing back Make a Statement, offense and defense. We talk about the sleepers heading into week 1 with a full slate of games. We don't just have 3 or 4 like we had in week 0. We got every team playing in college football. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.